All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are looking at what might be the single most unhelpful and yet absolutely brilliant field guide ever written. Seriously, forget everything you think you know about animal identification, because we're about to take a walk through the darkly hilarious world of Carolyn Wells' classic poem, How to Tell Wild Animals. So, picture this. You're lost, maybe wandering through a jungle somewhere in the east. You hear a sound. Something's coming. You desperately need to know what you're up against, right? Well, our guide for today says there's a simple set of rules for that. Though, let's be honest, I probably wouldn't bet my life on them. Okay, so first up in this unusual guide is the Asian lion. How do you spot one? Well, it's not about the mane, it's not about the color. The method is, let's just say it's very hands-on. Or maybe end of life on. Now, the really clever part here is the timing. It's not enough that the beast is big and tawny. No. The key identifying feature is that roar, and it's delivered at a very specific moment. The poem is super clear about this. You only get that confirmation as you are, well, as you're dying. So, if we were to put that in a dictionary, it looks something like this. The positive ID of an Asian lion pretty much depends on your own imminent demise. That's a heck of a price to pay just to be right about what kind of cat you ran into, isn't it? And that right there, that's the core joke of this whole poem. You get the answer, you solve the wildlife mystery, but you won't be around to tell anyone. A perfect, 100% accurate identification with, a 0% survival rate. All right, let's move on to our next animal. If you thought the lion's rule was a bit impractical, just wait till you hear the one for the Bengal tiger. This one, it really simplifies things. You gotta love the language. A noble wild beast greets you. So polite. But the real key, the thing you really need to pay attention to, is that last part. Just notice if he eats you. That's it. Your identification is confirmed the moment you become a snack. And here's our handy definition again. The main thing that sets the Bengal tiger apart isn't just its cool stripes, it's its immediate culinary interest in you. The poem calls this a simple rule, and I guess it is, but maybe a little too simple for comfort. Next up, we've got the leopard. For this one, the poem suggests a very active and, frankly, a pretty painful confirmation process. It even gives you a little tip about what not to do while you're figuring it out. See how the poem plays with the words here? Leapt and lep. It sounds like leopard. That first pounce is your big clue. That's the moment you know for sure. And then there's that darkly funny warning. Roaring in pain won't help. In fact, it'll just make him lep and lep again. Right, so this is a really important note for our field guide. Your vocal complaints, not a deterrent, they're just part of the show. The identification process is gonna continue whether you're having a good time or not. Okay, let's switch gears from predators that leap on you and eat you to one that offers, well, a much more intimate way of identifying itself. The poem's description of the bear sounds almost gentle, which is exactly what makes it so creepy. Just listen to those words. Hugs. Caress. It sounds so friendly, doesn't it? But then you get that little detail very, very hard. And hey, if you're still not quite sure after the first hug, don't you worry. He'll give you just one more caress to really seal the deal. And this is where it all clicks. This isn't just the poet being creative. The whole idea of a bear hug comes from this very real, very deadly move. The poem is taking a famously fatal action and dressing it up in the most ironically sweet language possible. It's genius. Now, for a beginner, telling different predators apart can be tough. Our guide gets that. So it offers a handy tip for telling two specific creatures apart based on their emotional state. So here's the rule, plain and simple. If the animal comes at you with what looks like a merry smile, well, you've got yourself a hyena. But if it seems to be weeping as it approaches, then you're dealing with a crocodile. It's a field guide based on animal feelings. What could possibly go wrong? So let's get to our last creature, which I think is the most absurd challenge of all. Unlike the others, this one isn't about something awful happening to you. It's about what you absolutely cannot see. I mean, you just have to admire the logic here. It's so perfectly ridiculous. The poem says that if you look at a tree and see nothing on the tree, congratulations, you've just spotted a chameleon. The absolute proof of its existence is its complete and total absence. And there you have it. This slide says it all, doesn't it? We're confirming it for you in text, but visually, there's nothing here. The emptiness is the point. It's the perfect visual gag to match the poem's logic. Okay, so obviously this is not a guide you'd want to pack in your bug out bag. The whole thing is satire. Its goal was never to actually help you identify animals, but to use that whole idea to be incredibly clever and funny. So what are the real rules here? Well, they're the rules of comedy. The poem uses a ton of irony. We saw that with a bear's deadly hug, and it uses personification, giving human feelings to animals, like the merry smiles of hyenas. These aren't zoology facts, they're literary tricks designed to show you just how ridiculous the situation is. But the real joke, the punchline that runs through almost every single one of these, is this idea of post-mortem identification. You only truly know for sure what the animal is after it's already too late. It's a guide that works perfectly, but only one time. And that kind of leaves us with a bigger thought, doesn't it? This poem is totally absurd as a field guide, but it tells a powerful truth about how incredibly dangerous these animals are. By taking the idea to a ridiculous extreme, it actually makes the point stronger than a simple warning, lions are dangerous sign, ever could. Which really makes you wonder, when is being absurd the best way to tell the truth?